Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. As you know, we're on a break right now. We are between seasons. On a break of us traveling the world, searching for paranormal activity in some of the most haunted locations. But we can't just take a break and not bring you some sort of content. So this week, while we're on a break, we are going to be bringing you something entirely different, something we've never done on the channel before.
Never?
Never. We've never done this.
Wow. You guys should be excited because this is something totally new.
It is. We are going to be watching not only an episode of Paranormal Quest, a past investigation of ours, and giving you a behind-the-scenes take, a reaction, giving you information that has never been heard before on this particular episode of Paranormal Quest, but we're going to be reacting and watching and analyzing an old episode of Paranormal Quest. I mean, this one is 10 years old.
Oh yeah, this is going way back.
It is, and it's not going all the way back to the beginning of the channel, but far enough back that it's probably going to be very embarrassing for us to sit and watch this episode.
Yeah, probably so.
But we're going to not only be analyzing our old investigation style, analyzing whatever we claim is paranormal evidence in this video, and giving you a more updated take on what we think of it now, but we're also going to be reacting to ourselves and how embarrassing we were in 2015.
Yeah, we've come a long way since then. We've changed a lot in the way that we film and edit and just do everything about the show, so we thought it would be fun to go back and take a second look at this and give you guys a little more insight into it.
Yeah, it's going to be informative, it's going to be educational, it's going to be entertaining, and most of all, it is going to be hilarious.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it will be.
So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in to our investigation from the year 2015 in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, of the T.B. Ripy Mansion.
That's right, yeah, the T.B. Ripy Mansion, and it might have different titles, as you may find out in this episode.
Well, that was in the bloopers. We didn't actually put that in the episode.
So. Oh, we didn't?
No, we didn't put that in the episode, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
When we watch the interviews here.
See, it's so old that I don't even remember what happens in it.
So let's dive into the T.B. Ripy Mansion. The mansion of a millionaire who was the largest distiller of sour mash bourbon in North America back in the late 1800s. This mansion's supposed to be one of the most haunted mansions in Kentucky, and I'm excited to dive back into it, so let's get right into it, Dave.
Let's do it. Hit that play button. The old intro.
Oh my god. This is taking it way back.
Made by an old friend of ours.
The question asked was, who are you? And the response was, T.B. Ripy.
What the hell? What? What's the lights flashing? Are you touching the doll?
That was Miss Molly in her early form.
That's right, the headless Miss Molly.
Did you hear that? Do you know Mr.
Jesus Christ.
What? Did you hear that on the stairs?
For centuries, people have debated the question of an afterlife, in which the spirits of the deceased roam here on Earth with us. It is our passion to turn that question into an answer. My name is Ryan Zackrell. This intro. We filmed this over many years. As you can see, this is a different shot from North Carolina, but I remember editing these old episodes. I had to watch this intro so many times. As you saw, I can literally recite it by memory. I haven't even watched it in probably 8 years, and I can still recite it in perfect sync with myself in the voiceover here.
And as you can see, I can't, because I don't remember anything.
But the original version of this intro we shot in a cemetery in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Called Mount Wood Cemetery, which was a really old cemetery up there, and we got various shots of ourselves walking through the cemetery and things like that. So, but yeah, this is taking it way back.
Oh, yeah.
Someone poke me? Who was that?
I am joined by my two best friends, Dave Gear
I've never been scared to the point where
I fear my well-being. That's two times in 1 hour.
And Steve Hummel.
I've seen things, I've heard things in my lifetime that still makes my skin crawl. And this fight is surely one of them. It is. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Speaking of Steve, do we want to comment on Steve?
Yes, we can go ahead really quickly before the episode begins, or before we get too far into this. We want to try and keep out as much information as we can for Steve's privacy, but we wanted to let you all know, of course, you saw Steve there, one of the 3 founding members of Paranormal Quest. He is currently unwell. He is currently in the hospital, so if you all would please keep him in your thoughts and prayers and send him positive energy and vibes. We really are worried for Steve, and we hope that he makes a recovery, but as of the recording of this, he is not in good condition, and he's definitely on our minds quite a bit. So we've been visiting him in the hospital the past couple of days, and so we ask that everyone please do not reach out to, or attempt to reach out to Steve, or attempt to reach out to us about Steve. You obviously can leave a comment wishing him well, but it's been a really rough time over the past few days, and he and his family have enough to worry about with his recovery and his current condition without being inundated with messages and calls and things like that. So
yeah, if you want to say something to Steve or to his family, well wishes or things like that, you could just leave it in the comments here, and when he is back on his feet, we'll let him read through all of these and everything. And if you don't know who Steve is, like Ryan said, he was one of the original founding members of Paranormal Quest, and within like the last 5 or so years, he decided to take a focus on his educational studies and take a different path and spend time with his family, his aging grandparents, and things like that. So he kind of stepped away from being in front of the camera and doing traveling videos because it just became too difficult for him. So if you are new to the channel, that's who Steve is and why. Oh God! And why you don't see him in the episodes anymore?
yes, but even though he's not traveling with us, we still love Steve. He's like a brother to us. He's like family, and you know, it's been really scary the past couple of days for everyone involved, us and his family, and everyone to see him in such bad shape. So if you all would, we really appreciate if you all would keep him in your thoughts and prayers if you believe in prayer, and and send out as much positive energy and vibes to him as you can, and for sure. But let's jump into it and relive some of these memories.
Let's do it. Let's bring the mood back up. Thank you guys for understanding, and let's get into this.
This mansion is gorgeous.
The T.B. Ripy Mansion is a 50-room mansion built from the funds of a thriving bourbon industry.
I just now remembered I had the flu when I was editing this episode back in 2015. So the voiceovers sound really bad because I sounded really bad. I had so much congestion. It was just a very difficult time to need to record a voiceover.
Yeah.
We're here at the TB Ripy house. We're here with George. George, what is some of your personal connections with the house here?
The house was built by T.B. Ripy. It was finished in 1888. He was my great-grandfather, and he is the person who began the distillery at Tyrone, which now, currently the same area is now Wild Turkey. He also owned the old Joe Distillery at one time on the Gilbert's Creek Road before Prohibition closed it, and later on it was closed.
I don't think you can investigate here anymore, can you?
Reopened as Four Roses on the Bonds Mill Road. But his youngest son was William Ripy, and that was my grandfather. He had a daughter, 3 daughters. The oldest daughter was Betty Ripy, and that was my mom.
It's really cool because T.B. Ripy, as I'd said in the introduction, he was the largest distiller of sour mash bourbon in the world, the largest independent distiller. sour mash bourbon in the world back in the late 1800s. And his legacy of Old Ripy bourbon, as it was called, was so impactful that his distillery that he used is still in use to this day. And in fact, if anyone's ever heard of the whiskey brand Wild Turkey distills their bourbon in the Old Ripy distillery.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they bought the Old Ripy distillery, and that's where Wild Turkey still distills their bourbon to this day. So the legacy of TB Ripy is, still living on to this day, and it was so cool to get to see his mansion. It's in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, along the Bourbon Trail. Of course, those of you that know anything about distilling bourbon and the lore and the history of bourbon, you'll know Lawrenceburg as one of the most popular and famous distillery towns in the world for bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
You do, don't you?
I definitely knew that. Absolutely. You laughed first. You laughed first.
Jeff, Paranormal Investigation.
What is up with my outfit? And of course, but that was back when I had, the going for the shaved head look. Just decided when I was in college that I'm tired of taking care of my hair. I'm going to shave my head, and oh my God, what a choice.
You got too much to do in college to worry about doing your hair every day.
Apparently when you're 21, you go through a phase of wanting to look like Mr. Clean, and apparently wanting to dress like Mr. Clean wasn't making enough money on magic erasers and decided to moonlight in a BDSM store. That shirt, it looks like I cut up a gimp suit and sewed the sleeves onto a t-shirt. And I got the bling chain going on to prove it. I have no idea what I was doing back then. Guys, I was young.
It was your first time in a TJ Maxx and you picked one up and thought, hey, this will be cool.
You know what would look really cool on camera is if I wore a shirt with faux leather sleeves.
Oh my God.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, guys. When you're not selling as many magic erasers as you would have liked, you got to make decisions.
You got to drive up business.
Investigator and the owner of Lawrenceburg Ghost Tours, or Ghost Walk. Jeff, you've done a lot of paranormal investigations here, and you know a lot of the history about the location. What kind of experiences and evidence have you
I love the
captured
casual leaning on the fireplace.
That's how everyone talks.
Things from apparitions to doors opening and closing. You've got photographs that the people on the walks have captured of people looking out the windows. Very clear EVPs. Pretty much a range of things. Pretty much any type of evidence that people can pinpoint in the paranormal, we've captured here.
And I think Jeff is still doing the ghost walks, isn't he?
He is. He still has the Lawrenceburg Ghost Walk.
Yeah, if you guys are around that area, go take a ghost walk and tell Jeff we said hi.
In recent years, when I was a child, I came here all the time. And when my great-grandmother was still living. And nothing ever bothered me. Actually, I can come to this house after dark by myself, and I never have any fear. I feel like I'm very much at home. But I was having the electrician install the chandelier here in the foyer, and I let them in. I put a bag of light bulbs on the mantle over there on this side, and I said, here is the chandelier, it goes there, and here are the bulbs. I went to grab a bite to eat, came back about 45 minutes later, and they had this funny look that the chandelier was up. But they said, is this house haunted? And I said, well, no, not that I know of. I used to play here as a boy upstairs all the time by myself, even in the tower. And they said, well, we think it's haunted because it got very chilly in here, and that bag of light bulbs moved all the way from the left side of the mantle to the right side. And they were really concerned about it. And
that would
said,
creep me
I guess
out.
I'm supposed to be here and
yeah.
you're not.
George has just presented us with a very interesting theory. Could it be that when unfamiliar faces come within the home, the spirits of the former owners identify themselves in order to assert dominance over the home and the property. Could it be that
Imagine getting to be a
us
child, though, and
tonight?
explore that house all by yourself.
Yeah, that would be insane to get to actually play in a mansion like that, and to not even realize the history that that is around you, or I mean, as a child, not even realizing who your great-great-grandfather was.
Yeah.
George probably had no idea when he was a kid how successful and how influential of a man his great-great-grandfather was. T.B. Ripy. So
Yeah, I don't know. I'm jealous because I want to do that as an adult. I want that house.
me too.
Just a little bit about T.B. Ripy. He was the owner of a huge, I don't want to call it necessarily an empire, but it really was like a bourbon empire here.
Yes, he actually came over with his father from Tyrone, Ireland, is where they came from.
I don't want to call it an
originally.
empire, but it was an
And
empire.
He fell into the bourbon industry, and him and his brother ran the bourbon industry, ran a couple different distilleries. He ran a couple different distilleries. He was a very successful businessman. And in 1897, I've got records where he was making around $4 million a year just from bourbon alone. And that's not the only business he had. He had a rolling mill. He had several thoroughbred horses. So, I mean, he invested his money, and of course, he invested into the house that we're inside of.
Yes, as you can see, 50 rooms of pure beauty in this house,
yeah.
that's for sure.
50 rooms. And I mean, $4 million a year. Like, I mean, let me take a look here and see in the year, let's say 1900, just being generous, how much that would be.
A lot.
How much was $4 million in 1900? That would be the equivalent of him making $152,285,238 a year. Wow. Because, you're talking the late 1800s. This is in the year 1900. So in today's money, $4 million a year was worth over $152 million, and making that every single year.
Get ready for a Paranormal Quest, whatever that was.
Bourbon?
Yeah. A Paranormal Quest bourbon coming soon, you guys.
We wish. We're not smart enough to distill bourbon.
I'm not.
And you had mentioned, of course, one of the things you got to, of course, take into consideration whenever you talk about the alcohol industry is in the 1920s you had Prohibition.
On January 16th,
Get down,
1919, the 18th Amendment was passed, making the sale of alcohol illegal.
Lips that touch
It went
liquor
into
shall not
effect
touch
in
ours.
January of 1920, and law enforcement began to enforce these new
Prudes.
laws. This created a whole new category of crime, which included bootlegging, speakeasies,
They just dumped out
and
$100
even
million
looting,
there. They
riots, and murder, all in the name of liquor. This was devastating for the Ripy family, who had made the majority of their fortune on the sale of bourbon.
And, of course, that would take a huge hit to the family.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. If you think about how just devastating to most alcohol brands back in that time that had established themselves that Prohibition was, it probably would have bankrupted a lot of them. I'm not sure whether it bankrupted T.B. Ripy, but and then you have the underground sales of alcohol and bootlegging and things that came into the limelight and the spotlight. And some companies survived it, some didn't. So
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, it wouldn't have been good.
no, it would not have been good.
That's their business, that's their livelihood. Do you know about the history, what sort of happened with the family, what they did once Prohibition hit?
Well, family rumor says that they stored bourbon in the basement, and I'm not talking bottles, I'm talking barrels. And that they ran a speakeasy from the home. Now, there's no documents about this because they weren't caught. Now, the people across
Sounds
the
like a
street
good
from the
country
Galvin
song.
mansion,
I'm not talking
they were
bottles, I'm
caught
talking
in
barrels.
Prohibition from the house, so we knew that was taking place. So
I'm not talking bottles, I'm a talking barrels.
you've got to realize in Lawrenceburg during Prohibition, it was pretty much like a Wild West town because you had these huge warehouses full of bourbon and you had barrels full. So everybody was coming to Lawrenceburg trying to steal this bourbon. They were stealing it by the truckloads. There were murders taking place. I mean, it was a crazy place. So, of course, they moved the bourbon, I guess their private stock, if you want to call it that, to the house, probably to protect it. And I'm sure they sold a little of it, to
I love those concrete pillars in the front that has the TR or the T and the B and the R all carved into it. That's just so cool and such a personal touch on such a beautiful architecturally beautiful mansion.
It's very intricate. Imagine how long it took to make each one of those.
I know. That is insane. They just don't make stuff like they did back then, the craftsmanship.
Nope. They sure don't.
Was here with Jeff Aldridge one time, and we were in the room over there, and we were communicating, and on the playback you can hear somebody say some words when they asked questions of spirits, and the question asked was, who are you? And the response was, T.B. Ripy.
Now, I will say,
many years later?
Yeah, many years later, listening back to this EVP, we found this very impressive in the moment. Come to find out, this was recorded on a Panasonic DR60.
Yeah.
And everyone knows our opinions on the DR60. We think that most of the things that come through are just garbled noise from a broken device that then can be, using the power of audio pareidolia. Your brain can hear whatever it is you want to hear. And because you're in the T.B. Ripy house and you say, who are you, what is your name, and this garbled mess comes through that's kind of broken up by syllables, it sounds to our brain like T.B. Ripy. Would I have claimed this if I captured it nowadays as paranormal evidence? I probably would not. But, Jeff still, whether he still believes it to be or not, I don't know. But Jeff believes this was a very good capture. And we featured it in the episode. But knowing now that it was on a DR60 recorder, we probably wouldn't consider it to be evidence, in our opinion.
No, not at all.
Can you tell me your name? Can you tell me your name?
Especially that Ripy. It doesn't really, now listening to it, it doesn't quite sound like Ripy. It's just like a...
Yeah, guys, it's just with further knowledge and education and 15 more years of doing this since this, or 10 years, 10 more years of doing this since recording this, it doesn't add up at this point anymore.
Right. So, but if you listen very closely and you convince your brain that it does say T.B. Ripy, it does sound like T.B. Ripy. But again, audio pareidolia is a very strong thing. Your brain wants to hear it. It'll hear whatever it wants to hear.
We said, what do you want us to do with the house? And the answer was, fix it, when it played back on the tape.
pretty persistent.
Yes, but unfortunately we failed to ask where the money was, so... but,
that would have helped.
Yes.
Let's hear this one. Did I replay that one? I don't think I replayed that EVP. Maybe I didn't. Because maybe in the moment at the time it didn't even quite sound like Fix It to me back then. I don't know.
I don't know if we even got that part.
Maybe not. Maybe we didn't get that EVP. Because I know Jeff sent over that TB Ripy one, but I don't know. Why I didn't include the Fix It EVP in there for everyone to hear as well, I'm not sure, but because it was 10 years ago and I don't remember.
We've actually captured, we have two that we've saved. The third got lost due to the type of recorder that it was. But George Gohagan, one of the owners, one of the descendants of the Ripy family, was present for that. And the first EVP that we captured, we were just upstairs talking. We said, what do you want George to do with this home? And it said very clearly, fix it. Now that's the one that we lost. The very next one we asked was, can you tell us who built this home? And it says, I did, very clearly.
Do you know who built this home? Do you know who built this home? Do you know
again, very overmodulated, very, it peaked the audio levels on that recorder, which, so was it audio pareidolia, or do you actually hear I did? I mean, if I concentrate on it, I can hear the I did. But again, it's hard because we ourselves don't trust that recorder. We've used it multiple times over the years and have had that experience of not having
anything
that we can decipher as an EVP, and most of it just garbled noise when you turn it on, and it always gives you a voice. That was when we started to become skeptical of the recorder, was when you'd hit record, and every recording you would get something on it, and that's just not the way the paranormal works. That's not the way EVP works. So we've caught EVPs over the years that we believe could be something unexplainable, but we've never caught something on a DR60 in our multiple experiments when friends let us use them in our own spare personal time that we would consider to be evidence, or EVPs are unexplained. It's all just explainable because the device is broken.
Yeah, so if you've got one of those lying around and you use it, pick it up and throw it in the trash. Or sell it on eBay for $5,000.
That's right, yeah, because someone will pay $5,000 for it. So, but that's another reason why it's a shame, is because it's a broken device that people capitalized on to make a whole lot of money. So selling them for exorbitant amounts of money, because when they first came out, I think they were like $40 brand new out of the box. Now people on eBay are selling them for $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. It's just crazy. But anyway, back to the episode.
And then so there's only one person that was responsible for the Ripy mansion, which is T.B. Ripy himself. And so the next question we asked was, can you tell us your name? And you hear T.B., and then the Ripy kind of fades out, because a lot of people don't realize when you're communicating with these ghosts or spirits, they don't have lungs or vocal cords or a tongue or whatever to form speech anymore. So they're using pure energy. So he's come through very clearly twice. So of course he's going to fade out into the end.
That's awesome. And that's evidence right there to show that T.B. Ripy is still in the home that he built and the home that he lived in up until he died.
Do you know who built this home? Can you tell me your name?
A lot of the family,
and even the B kind of doesn't sound like a B if you listen to it without trying to concentrate on the name T.B. Ripy.
Yeah, if you play the episode right there and you close your eyes and maybe have somebody who's never heard what you just played and say, can you tell me what this is saying right here? They wouldn't come up with anything.
Right.
Can you tell me your name?
a lot of the family and descendants have actually lived in this house, of course, since TV died, and the business was passed down throughout the family, and the house was passed down throughout the family. So there's been quite a few people that have actually lived and died in this home, or not necessarily in the home, but died while they were living in this home throughout the family.
Well, they did actually die in the house. There were several, at least more than two, that have died in the house, his wife included. You got to realize sometimes in the time frame that these people passed away in the home, I mean, they really didn't have hospitals that for them would have been capable of meeting their needs, so they'd rather have a doctor come to this house and take care of them. When they passed away, they would have the funerals here at the house. I've got several articles that speak of that kind of thing too. So, they treated the house as not only
what?
I was trying to figure out what you were doing with your mouth there. You're like,
I'm trying to look cool in my leather sleeve shirt.
And your dangling chain.
I need to get the bling back on. I need to up my bling game. I'm losing it, guys.
He's not iced out anymore.
Not anymore. I'm losing all my style.
A place to live, but they pretty much followed them all the way through till they were dead.
And that's the thing.
Nothing like two bald men leaning on a fireplace. That just screams really important conversation. I'm glad we chose that location and for the two bald men to lean up and talk.
It sounds like a podcast, two bald men leaning on a fireplace.
Jeff, if you want to start that podcast, I'll shave. No, I won't. I'm just kidding. I won't shave my head. Sorry.
This house was not only a huge, beautiful mansion, but it was a home for the family.
Right.
And that's something that really plays into it as well, especially with these paranormal encounters. Like when you captured those EVPs.
Oh, did you hear that?
He's family.
Paranormal Encounters.
Paranormal Encounters?
I didn't even know of Connor in Paranormal Encounters, and I just name dropped him.
I know. Look at that. It was meant to be, Connor.
That's right. 4 years before we ever met you, I was name dropping you.
You know, like you had mentioned earlier, we're not dealing with something evil or demonic here. It's a family of spirits living within the home or residing within the home, and that comes into play. And you know, hopefully that they welcome us into the home tonight, and hopefully they decide to come through and communicate with us.
You know, it's all about letting them know why you're here and what you're doing. You know, Mr. Ripy is inside of the house, so when I speak to him, I try to speak to him like he is a successful businessman. I mean, you got to realize that this man was one of the richest, probably in the nation. I would say probably top 10 at one time. And I mean, he's very adamant, and he's very particular about the way things need to go. I mean, from the EVP, you can kind of pick that up from the voice. It's not just some static voice that you hear. I mean, you could actually pick up from the tone.
Well, actually, it was.
He's a very firm person.
Yeah.
Leave a comment down below. Would you guys live in this house?
I would, for sure.
Just kind of sounds like just like a normal occurrences that would have happened if they were actually physically still here.
Right.
Sounds like TB is very active with the place and still cares about the place.
Yes.
How would you describe him? Do you remember anything? Any tales
He
about
died
him?
in 1912, so I don't remember. I never knew him.
Right. Well, I meant like stories.
I'm just
or-
71.
Yeah.
No, none.
Yeah.
He had been deceased for so long when I was a child. There weren't many stories about it except what he had done. He was the largest independent sour mash distiller in the world in the 1890s. Now, my great-grandmother lived here until the late 40s or early 50s, and actually I was in the bedroom with her the night before she died. So I was up here all the time.
Right.
And, I can remember she sat at the head of the dining room table, and she always reminded us that children should be seen and not heard at the table. But before that, she heard me a lot. We were in
The old-fashioned parenting, you know, like, yeah.
That made me scared when he said that.
Yeah. Just imagine that distinguished lady sitting at the head of the table reminding you that children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. Children should be seen and not heard.
But I mean, to kind of bring into what we were talking about earlier, there were multiple moments during this interview because TB is not, I mean, the initials TB were not a common name that we had ever heard. So to say TB Ripy was really difficult. And I remember Steve during the interview, I mean, he called him like JR Ripy and TD Ripy and TR Ripy and
Tippy, Mr. Tippy.
that was you during the investigation. I remember there was a point you were sitting on the second floor landing at the top of the stairs and you were like, "Are you here, Mr. Tippy?"
Okay. We're here at the TP Rippy house with George. TB?
TB.
Okay, I could get my ears clean. TB. Okay. All right.
Was that you, Mr. Tippy?
Who's Mr. Tippy?
Isn't that his name?
Rippy?
Rippy.
Sorry. It sounds like JB really still, cares about the place. Perhaps maybe.
Did we ever? Did George say what TB stood for?
I don't think so. But it's probably something that I can look up here really fast.
Theodore Bartholomew Rippy.
Is that your guess?
That's my guess.
Let's see what it says.
What do you guys think TB stands for? Leave a comment. And not tuberculosis Rippy, because that would be weird.
You are not right. It is Thomas Beebe. Thomas Beebe Rippy. Beebe. Thomas Beebe.
Thomas Beebe Rippy. Wow, that guy had a unique name all the way around.
He did, yep. Thomas Beebe.
She would always listen to John Cameron Swayze, Edward R. Murrow on the radio. That was before the days of television here. My grandfather was here, my great-grandmother, and my great-aunt and uncle. Artemisia Ripy was my grandfather's sister. And
another really interesting name, Artemisia Ripy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They would have their cocktails while I played with building blocks. And Harry the butler would ring the gong and call them in for dinner, roll the dining room doors open, and say dinner was served, and they would all
That's that rich. Bong.
It's what $152 million a year will get you.
Yeah. A gong dinner.
So, welcome to the house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With the sun setting, we decided it was time to try our abandonment tactic. We were getting ready to set up all of our equipment and leave the mansion when Jeff had a very interesting idea.
We've had experiences with the doll. This was actually found inside of one of the walls. And if you look at this picture, the weird part about it is, I think this doll is actually in the picture.
I can't move it this way just a tad. Oh yeah, I see that.
You can see a head. Now, of course, it's missing its head now, but you can see the legs and arms.
So this is something the children would have actually...
Yeah, this is original. I mean, if you look at the doll...
And that's entirely our fault that you can't tell one way or the other whether that doll is actually in the photograph or not. Talk about bad documentation. I did not get a good shot of that picture, and we never took a photo of it to be able to see whether or not it truly was, at least as far as I remember.
I don't think we ever did, no. Mm-hmm.
So the doll might have been in there. I couldn't tell from that shot. That was awful camera work.
I mean, it's original.
Yeah.
The guy that brings it. It only said go off one time.
It's pretty cool. Does anyone watching know anything about that doll?
Put that beside the REM pod and see.
And we've had experience with it. It'll go off.
It's nice. We'll do that then.
The REM pod is one of our newest pieces of investigation equipment. It is
Is the head stuffed down inside the doll, or is that just the stuffing? Because that kind of looks like the top of my head in this episode.
I think it's stuffing, but if you look hard enough, you can kind of see like an eye and some hair and stuff. But yeah, I think it's just stuffing.
I thought maybe someone just went boom and popped the top of the head of the doll down inside of it, and I was like, oh, it was a bald doll. That's what you needed, two bald men leaning on a fireplace talking about a bald doll.
There you go.
a static field detector. There is a static field generated by the antenna, and whenever that static field is broken, this device alarms. In this experiment, we will take this doll that was found here at the TB Ripy mansion and put it on top of the REM pod, hoping that if a spirit finds this trigger object to be familiar and they come close to it and touch it, the REM pod will alarm. And sure enough, just 5 minutes after Jeff suggests this idea, our REM pod begins to alarm.
This might have been the first time we actually ever did an experiment like that, if I remember correctly.
I think this was the first episode we used the REM pod.
It might have been. I don't remember before this, because I don't think we even had a REM pod. I think that REM pod belonged to them, to Jeff.
It might have been, yeah.
Did you get recorded?
Yep.
Are you touching the doll?
Yeah.
Notice how none of us are nowhere near the doll. The doll's sitting on the REM pod. The antenna is up through the doll's legs.
Look at that grand staircase, by the way.
I know.
Never once set it off prior to us. Notice how it's not setting it off now.
I'm going to try to see if you're going to have a respond verbally.
Yeah. Is that you touching the doll?
That was kind of creepy, because we did have that doll sitting there for a little while without that REM pod alarming.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, as I'm standing on the stairs, it just starts going off, and then it just stopped.
Your name, please?
Could that doll have belonged to one of the children of the Ripy family that still haunts the house? Maybe. I mean, there could be residual energy attached to that doll. someone cussed.
I have one right here in my hand. Let me turn it off.
Can you make another light up?
Is Jeff running the camera?
I think so. I thought that was me.
I thought it was Steve.
Okay, you've backed away from it now. Can you go back to the little silver stick that's where your doll is?
Shout out to Jeff, such a good guy.
Is that where Steve got that from? all
Just
those
as suddenly
years
as
he
the
would call
rim-
it a silver stick. And Jeff just said it. Is that where Steve got that from?
Maybe. That might have been the first exposure Steve ever had to a REM pod. I know it might have been the first time I ever used one, so maybe that was where he got it from. He's like, oh, silver stick. That sounds like a good explanation. Because how do you describe that to a spirit that lived in the 1800s?
Yeah.
If there is such thing as spirits that lived in the 1800s haunting that house, how do you describe that? It's like, it's not, you can't say antenna because what is an antenna, Mm-hmm. It's a silver stick. Touch the silver stick.
Pod began to alarm. It stops completely. Could this have been the spirit of a young child, curious about the doll, and touching it, making our REM pod alarm?
Yep. Are you touching the doll?
Creepy.
Also, where have
Just
I
when we
been
had
the
thought
whole
all of the
episode? I
activity
haven't
had
even been
subsided,
in
Jeff
this
zooms
episode
out.
yet.
Yeah, you have. There was a shot of you and Steve
Oh, yeah.
getting
that's
B-roll outside, but that was about it. You'll come into the episode for sure. You just never, just like now, you don't really like to conduct interviews now, and you didn't back then either. Even more so back then. You hated to talk in front of the camera. Like, you liked investigating in front of the camera, but to come up with questions and...
I was a very shy, bashful boy at my mid-20s.
He still is a shy, bashful boy, just less so.
True.
And notices the camera is trying to focus on something that is not visible.
Nah, that's because of the reflection back there. Don't try and claim that as paranormal, Ryan. There's a reflection on that back window, and it's messing with the camera's autofocus. You doofus. What an idiot. How could I think that's paranormal?
We were still novices.
We were young.
This is trying to focus on something. Like something like here.
Huh.
Like you're blurry.
Right. We've had that happen before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like-
called autofocus.
Like
Thanks
it's
for
trying to
telling us,
focus
Ryan.
on something.
That's how autofocus works, Ryan. The camera goes out of focus and goes back in focus whenever there's something impeding the autofocus. Like right now.
Then it's like would probably be like right here.
Close to the camera.
Right. Yeah, it's still doing it. Like I adjusted a little bit just to see if it would. It's still trying to focus on something.
The glare
It's
on the
very
back window.
unlikely that this is a mechanical malfunction in the autofocus.
Don't you tell me it's not a mechanical malfunction 2015 flu symptom, Ryan.
Because if it were, it would constantly try and focus on an object within the frame.
Wrong.
In this instance, it shifts focus to something that we cannot see and holds it.
You can
Could this
see it.
be someone that we cannot see standing directly in front of the camera? And
It's
could
not.
this be the same spirit that was causing our REM pod to alarm?
It's not.
Nope.
We started the investigation with our abandonment tactic, where we leave
Right there, guys. Still, 10 years ago, we have abandonment. Shows you how long we've been doing it.
all of our equipment in the location and leave to see what we
And even
capture.
back then, we weren't willing to say that was paranormal.
We left a camera on the first floor with the REM
The
pod,
autofocus
the
thing.
doll.
I did say it was paranormal.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I said, could it be that someone's standing in front of the camera? Because it's not a mechanical malfunction, when it very clearly was. Guys, it just goes to show you, in paranormal investigation, even all investigators deserve leeway. Like, just because someone is debunked due to a mistake, they might not know. They might still be learning. This is a good example. We still had a lot to learn at this point, and we still to this day have a lot to learn about the way some of the cameras work and things like that. And even though we know a lot more now than we did back then, that doesn't mean that we know everything now either. So, but it is fun to, and even look at that. We shut the door because it probably was causing a problem with the camera's autofocus.
Probably.
And it still didn't click in the old brain of brains. You live and learn.
Blame it on the flu.
As Steve used to always say, I'm still learning.
And a recorder. On the second floor, we left a camera, a recorder, and our motion detector to pick up any movement that occurs. And on the third floor, in the servants' quarters, we left a digital recorder to pick up any EVP or unexplained sounds that may occur in this area. In order to mark on our equipment, I yelled, and surprisingly, the recorder in the third floor servants' quarters captured a woman directly responding to what I said.
Do you hear that?
Not really.
Me neither. Maybe it was better. Maybe we had better headphones back then. I don't know.
Maybe. Do you guys hear it?
Do you hear it in the comments? Tell us. Do you hear the they're leaving? I'll play it one more time.
I said.
I could almost hear they're moving.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I feel like there's something there, but maybe we got what it was saying wrong.
right. Maybe we fell victim to the audio pareidolia thing. The audio matrixing. Our brain wouldn't process what was trying to process what it was saying, and it wanted to hear they're leaving because we just said we're leaving.
Which was that the first we're leaving?
Ever put to camera? Maybe.
Oh, snap.
That might have been the first time the we're leaving ever was captured. It shows you guys we didn't do it on camera. It was done on camera maybe this time, and then the next time it was on camera was when we did the Monroe house in 2021.
Maybe.
And you all, the comment, the viewers, you all heard Dave scream, we're leaving, and you're like, oh, we love that. That's hilarious. And you should put that in the episode and make merch that says we're leaving. And it's been left in the episodes every time. It became like a catchphrase, a tagline. But 10 years ago, we were still saying we're leaving.
Apparently.
Shortly after, that same recorder picked up the sound of a bell ringing.
I do hear that.
This same sound was picked up on the camera on the first floor.
Barely.
Barely. So maybe it came from upstairs.
But shockingly was not captured on the camera and the recorder on the second floor.
Bizarre.
This is astonishing that two devices 2 floors apart could capture the same bell sound, but the devices on the floor in between did not capture this sound at all. Could this be the bell that would ring when the servants were called?
Just goes to show you how awful the editing program that I was using back then actually was. Well, it's not awful, I guess, but I think I might have been using Final Cut Pro, maybe, I'm not sure. Or maybe just how bad I was at keyframing things, because if you look at that top frame is just, it's constantly moving slightly to the right and slightly. It looks like the camera's moving, but it's not. It's just the keyframes that I use to create this 3-camera layout. For whatever reason, it's moving the whole frame of the second floor.
The camera on the second floor did pick up some interesting occurrences. This camera picked up what sounds like footsteps, followed by 2 knocking sounds.
I hear the knocking, I don't hear the footsteps.
Also, the recorder in the servants' quarters picked up a very distinct knocking sound.
That's distinct.
Very.
But probably the most shocking and validating occurrence was something that did not happen. For over an hour, the REM pod sat on the first floor without alarming. This helps us validate that a supernatural force broke the static field, causing it to alarm, and that it was not a flaw in the equipment.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, the way I worded that back then was a little bit misleading. It doesn't mean that it was a supernatural force. again, dramatic flu influence voiceover, influenced by congestion. But it doesn't mean that it was a supernatural force. It just means that it wasn't a flaw in the equipment. As we've found out over the years, there's many reasons why a REM pod could alarm, but the fact that it didn't alarm again also could validate the fact that there's not much interference going on. And the mansion itself doesn't really sit in like a city center or anything, or like near a radio tower or near a fire station or police station where you have those radio frequencies that interfere with it. It doesn't mean that it was a supernatural force. It just means that we still don't have an explanation for why it went off when we were there.
Nope.
Right?
Correct.
If the REM pod is faulty, chances are it would have continued to alarm after we left.
Did you hit record?
Yep.
Are you touching the doll?
Yeah. I think that was Jeff that said that.
As we were retrieving our equipment from the second floor, we began hearing sounds from all the rooms around us and began to feel a presence. So we stopped to investigate for any entities that
We're
may
back,
be on
apparently.
this second floor.
We're back.
That's a train in the background.
There's someone right here beside me.
Hi.
My eyes are watering. I just saw a river wall. Okay, never mind. It's the
Okay.
power stream. I'm sorry. The light just started blinking on it.
Live debunking there from Steve, y'all. He thought he saw some light movement, and then he saw that it was the power strip blinking.
Yeah. See how easy it is, you guys? Just be honest.
Live in the moment debunking.
Female. I sense it's a female.
There's some sort of. I wish you had the REM pod right now. There's some
REM
sort of
pod.
static.
I wish you had the REM pod. Oh, my West Virginia was coming out there.
Yeah, over the years we've kind of lost some of our accents from, our various upbringings, but yeah, that definitely came out there. You definitely sounded very West Virginian.
Mm-hmm.
She was whispering in my ear. I could see her doing it. I could feel her doing it, but I couldn't hear anything she said.
Probably because of that train, Steve. That's why you couldn't hear anything she said, because that's getting on my last nerve.
Yeah.
The train going by shakes the glass in here. Talk into here. I can't hear you. Physically, I can't hear you that way. You have to talk into here. Middle-aged females when I was picking up on.
Black.
I don't know. Maybe possibly. She put like her right hand like here, coming this way.
I feel a cold breeze on the back of my neck. We were still a little bit freaked out about the whole thing back then. We weren't as cool, calm, and collected as we are now.
Yeah. Yeah, we were definitely a little skittish right here.
A little bit.
Let me just say something here.
Let me just say something here.
Let me just say something here. I feel like there's a lot of different. I feel like I can speak for everybody who's standing here right now. But there's a lot of different types of energy that are coming through right now. I don't know if you guys feel it, but I can feel stuff here. I can feel stuff over here. I saw something over here.
This hurts. Ryan was like, shut up, Dave. God.
The whole fast forward effect is still there. And notice also how we only have one camera angle here now. It's kind of interesting because if you watch our most recent episode from the Henry Logan house in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Yeah, man, how much did it change from this one camera angle?
We went from one camera angle to 10 years later when we're on an investigation session. Apparently, we need 12 different camera angles to cut to and from.
That's going to be changing, you guys. That was crazy.
Never again will I ever edit a session with 12 different... You know how much time it takes to review and watch 12 different camera angles to see, not only for Paranormal Activity, but to see which one is the best one to use in each point in time. And do you know how much processing power it takes a computer to be able to simultaneously play 12 different camera angles in order to perform the editing process? This computer almost bit the dust.
It wasn't happy.
It almost gave up on me.
Do you know George?
What are you holding?
Do you know
Oh, a flashlight.
Jesus
Christ. Me. What? Did you hear that on the stairs?
Wait, one more time.
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Jesus.
There it was. You said it. You
Did
said
I?
it. Yeah, you said, do you know Mr. Tippy?
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Jesus.
Me. What? Did you hear that on the stairs?
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Okay, we'll listen to it one more time, but this time listen for the noise, because there was a noise on the stairs.
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Jesus.
Me. What? Did you hear that on the stairs?
There was just a solid, like, pressure, footstep, weight displacement on the stairs down here behind me.
Look how bad our IR was, too.
I know.
That
Can't even
was
hardly
so loud.
see.
It was like right behind me. I felt it through the banister.
Just as Dave was asking if anyone knew Mr. Ripy, I heard and
Excuse me, he asked about Mr. Tippy,
Yeah.
not Mr. Rippy.
Don't put
felt
words
a
in my
very
mouth.
loud noise come from the staircase. It was so loud that I felt the vibrations through the banister. This startled me and caused me to jump forward, startling Dave and Steve. This sound was captured on my camera's audio.
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Jesus.
Me. What? Did you hear that on the stairs?
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Jesus.
Me. What? Did you hear that on the stairs?
Do you know Mr. Tippy?
Jesus.
Me. What?
I never used to understand why people would say, why do you replay it 3 times? That's so obnoxious. But now sitting back and watching, and I only replay stuff twice at most now, because I can see how this is a bit excessive. Even just watching it, I'm like, all right, Ryan. 1 or 2 replays was enough.
Did you hear that on the stairs?
Okay, we got this. All right. You thought that was funny. You got us on that one.
Some positive reassurance. We got this.
That's right. I was mediating here, you guys. We got this, guys. We got this.
We got this, guys. It's just a dark house, and we're just talking to the spirits, and we just heard a knocking. But we got it. We got it. We got this.
Wait, shh, Steve. Shh, right here. I heard a footstep right here at the top of the stairs. Where would you like us to move? We don't know if we're in your way or not.
At this point, I remembered something that Jeff had told me.
What'd you remember?
Oh.
Mr. Ripy is inside of the house, so when I speak to him, I try to speak to him like he is a successful businessman. I mean, you got to realize that this man was one of the richest, probably in the nation.
Knowing this, I knew that I had to talk to TB Ripy like the businessman that he was.
I hear you make good bourbon. Well, look at me. I make good cleaning products.
The real reason we're here, Mr. Ripy, is I have a business
At least you could
proposition
get
for
his
you.
name right.
Let's hear my business acumen here.
What's he got, guys? What's he got?
Let's see what this 21-year-old bald guy
I think it would be a
knows
good
about
idea to
business.
start mass producing the bourbon.
He already did.
Great
sending
idea.
it over to other nations
He probably already
that
did.
it has not yet reached.
That was loud.
That was.
And sending it over to other nations that it has not yet reached. That it has not yet reached.
One more time.
That it has not yet reached.
You know what that noise was him throwing his glass of whiskey saying, I already did that, you idiot. I'm already in 87 different nations. Oh my gosh.
What do you know, kid? Grow some hair.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
About Ireland.
Funny enough, he was from Ireland. So chances are he probably was already in Ireland. T.B. Rippy's father immigrated from Ireland, so it was probably the first place he looked to send it whenever he made bourbon.
Probably.
What about Ireland?
Look at that cheeky grin.
Africa. People all over the world enjoying your bourbon, and we can just sit back and rake in the cash.
We.
Of course, being the businessman that you are, you would get 90%.
90%. This is rough.
Oh my god. How old was I here? And why did my voice still not change at this age? You were 21, so I was
25 or 26.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because you are 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
It is your product, after all.
Sound like Mickey Mouse.
Or do you want 100%?
Steve, don't give away our profits.
Yeah. That we did nothing to earn.
Were you proud of what you did? What you accomplished?
Were you proud of what you did? Oh my god.
Though we did not capture a verbal response, we cannot help but believe that T.B. Rippy was fully engaged in this conversation with us.
Really, Ryan, what evidence do you have of that? I'm excited to hear this one.
From the level of movement and knocking sounds that we captured.
Guys, he was fully engaged because, the house was settling.
During. So we feel that this is
It could have been movement, unexplained movement, I guess. And I'm going to go back and replay this, so I'll stop interrupting. But it's just kind of cringeworthy to watch this stuff and discover back then what we believed to be unexplained activity.
Yeah.
Believe that T.B. Rippy was fully engaged in this conversation with us, from the level of movement and knocking sounds that we captured during. So we feel that this is a good time to go and grab the rest of our equipment and begin a full-scale investigation of the T.B. Rippy mansion. Because of the amount of activity that took place in the servants' quarters while we were gone, Steve sets up a camera with a laser grid and a digital recorder up there. Just below, at the bottom of the steps going up to the servants' quarters, I set up 2 cameras and my REM pod in order to capture anything that might move throughout this area. When just about everything was set up,
Why is that boom, that shotgun microphone, that boom microphone, why is it like 12 times larger than the camera that's... And whose idea was it to mount that on the camera? That is ridiculous looking.
I don't know.
and we were about to vacate the area, Steve began to see flashing lights up in the servants' quarters.
That was all we had, though.
It was.
That doesn't help. What? What's the lights flashing on?
Just about mowed you down.
That's right. Just completely trample me. It's all right.
I sort of
So he quickly ran up the stairs to investigate these flashing lights, and found nothing unusual. Watching the whole event from the point of view of the camera set up there tells a completely different story.
Does it? It's good that I don't remember this. Oh, wow, yeah, it is flashing like crazy. Just gonna throw this out there. Could be a battery issue.
Could be.
Could be that the battery contact wasn't that great and it was having some sort of like power surge, but also could be people believe that spirits or paranormal activity drains batteries, so it could also be that maybe there was something pulling energy from it. But again, could just
Watch
be
as
a
his
bad
laser
battery.
grid suddenly begins to sporadically flash for absolutely no apparent reason. Just when Steve notices these flashing lights and begins up the stairs, the laser grid suddenly stops flashing. Could this be the spirits that we captured in this area earlier, messing with Steve's laser grid? Watch again and notice that not all the lasers in this grid are flashing. There are only a certain number of these lasers that are flashing, and because this device runs on a single circuit, it is very peculiar that only some of the lasers would flash, while the others remain constant.
What am I saying? I'm just on the voiceover here talking out my ass.
I really don't know.
It's like I just threw a word salad out there with no meaning whatsoever.
We cannot prove that this is paranormal, but we can say that it is unexplained.
I mean, it might not be unexplained. It might be just a bad, like a battery that has limited charge left on it. I don't know, but it is strange timing that as soon as Steve started to run up the stairs, it stopped flashing.
Yeah.
But again, it's a coincidence. People experience coincidences all the time.
Set up all of the equipment and go back downstairs and out the front door to give these spirits some space. And
Double
3 minutes
abandonment.
after we walk away and down the stairs, the REM pod begins to alarm.
Much stronger alarm than it did with the doll.
Mm-hmm. I miss the old REM pods. They don't sound like that anymore.
Mm-mm. They have too
The
many
REM
bells
pod
and whistles
continues
on
to
them.
alarm for about 4 minutes. These pulses of energy are sporadic and varying. Could it be that the spirits of this house are very intrigued by this piece of equipment?
Could be. I mean, could be many other things.
It could be. It could be that. I mean, it is. The newer REM pods, I feel like I miss the simplicity of the old REM pods. Now it's that there's so many different things packed into there with your ambient temperature sensor, and sometimes some of them even have like shadow detection and stuff on them. And it's just like I miss the days when it was just a simple REM pod and had no other bells and whistles to it.
Yeah, bring them back. If anybody has one of those old ones and you want to sell it, get a hold of us.
This old music.
Who's up here messing with the green lights?
I just saw a flash of blue light over here
Where?
in this room to your left.
On the wall? On the...
Just the whole room kind of lit up faintly with blue.
Everybody outside?
That was a big house.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was.
This video doesn't do it justice, how huge that place was.
I wish we could go back here. But I think it's an Airbnb now. Oh, really?
What's your
I
name?
think so.
Check out that mist, guys. That's such an incredible mist.
I don't-
Definitely not a reflection off of something as you move the camera.
Unexplained mist.
We were still learning.
This is where you feel a little apprehensive, isn't it?
Little bit.
Not too bad.
You feel?
I feel like I walked into something.
Like an intrusive feeling, or?
God, the days when I would push my glasses up on my head
And then forget where they were.
and then forget where they were almost every time.
It got really uncomfortable over here.
Where you at? Oh.
Still standing in the middle of the floor here.
Like
Where you at?
impressive or what?
It just feels weird. I feel like energy.
Like, just one of those rooms
Guys
in
are
that
good over
attic
there.
is bigger than my apartment.
And there's 50 of them in that house.
Yeah.
Even though the only piece of unexplained activity that we have captured up here in the third floor servants' quarters in this part of the investigation is a small mist anomaly.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't capture anything.
You captured a light flare, maybe some
There is
dust.
still an uneasy feeling about this part of the house. Could it be that there are multiple spirits that inhabit this area? And we are invading their space?
I mean, it's
Are you
possible.
happy that they're trying to renovate the house?
It was my stomach.
Like it's static on my right arm right now. I can feel the hair is like starting to stick up. I'm not feeling like any apprehension about anything like that, but there's a static on my hand, on my forearm. Who is that? Who's touching my arm?
Are you wanting to play or show us around?
I can't. It's okay.
Wow.
Not here to hurt anybody, so.
On the bright side, if it is a child up there, at least they'll think it's a child wanting to play with them.
Yeah. Oh, man.
At this point, my digital recorder set up in the next room captures a female voice directly responding
was Dave.
to Steve.
Not here to hurt anybody, so. Not here to hurt anybody, so. Not
Don't
here to
hear
hurt
that at all.
anybody, so.
Nah. Humming in agreement was the tag on the screen. Female humming in agreement.
Play it one more time.
Not here to hurt anybody, so.
I hear something, but it could just be me walking because I'm walking as it. Or is
Yeah.
that Steve walking?
I don't know.
I think that's my camera angle. I think that's me walking. Could just be a floorboard squeaking as I'm walking.
Could be.
You know, that's the problem with trying to call out EVPs when people are moving around is the, floorboard squeaking movement, whatever. I would not by today's standards say that was anything.
No.
At all. Definitely not a female humming in agreement.
Could this be the same spirit that has been messing with us in the third floor servants' quarters the entire night?
It's not.
Yes.
Apparently I'm hungry. Like right now.
Was that in here or was that outside?
I think it was the furnace.
So go back and check
Whoa,
it.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Back here. Steve, turn around.
What is it?
I saw another, like, flash of blue light
How far back?
just, like, in the middle of the room.
Could have been that it was light coming in one of the windows, maybe.
Could have been. I don't know.
Is that you? I mean, making that light? Is that your spirit light?
You're not in trouble, we just
No.
find it interesting.
We want to know more about you.
Of course you're not in trouble, this is your home.
Here we go.
At this point, my
Another
recorder set
voiceover.
up in the room behind me yet again captures another EVP or spirit voice. It
Another EVP or spirit voice? I wonder if this is going to be any better than the last.
recorder
don't
set
know.
up in the room behind me yet again captures another EVP or spirit voice. It does not seem to be responding directly to the questions, but sending us a general message. Here is the enhanced audio.
Enhanced.
Of course you're not in trouble, this is your home. We're not here to tell you what to do, how to act, how to live.
I do hear something there.
Yeah, I hear something too. It's on, in the right side only.
Mm-hmm.
So it was picked up on the right side of that digital recorder.
Interesting.
That might be something. That might be a voice that we captured. I'm not sure. It's definitely better than the last one. That's for sure.
We just want to talk to you a little bit, nothing. We just think your house is really interesting. Are we not supposed to be up here though?
If you want us to leave, can you knock on a wall or a door? Did you hear that? What the hell was that?
It's definitely a knock.
Thank you.
That was on the floor right here in the center of the room. It sounded like a footstep, like.
When Steve asks for this knocking sound, all of us are standing completely still, and none of us move.
I like how when we ask, what was that? And you go,
Suddenly hear what sounds like a footstep or a stomp on the floor beside us.
If you want us to leave, can you knock on a wall or a door?
unexplained stomp.
If this is not paranormal, it is very coincidental, because we have not heard a knocking sound of this tone and volume all night. This tells us that someone or something does
When analyzing your knocking sounds, you have to pay attention to tone and volume.
Of course.
not want us to be in the servants' quarters anymore.
We can respect that.
Absolutely.
But we'll go ahead and leave. But thank you for allowing us to come up here and visit where you live. It's very nice. So we'll do what we said and we'll go ahead and leave.
Get the tripod. Okay.
With the end of our investigation fast approaching, there was still one more area that we had left to investigate. The basement area, that at one time was rumored to be a speakeasy, is said to be a very paranormally active part of the house. But due to the fact that we could not turn off the furnace, any and all audio evidence would be contaminated upon investigating down there. So to finish off this investigation, we put a camera down there with a laser grid and the REM pod.
Someone get me a lozenge. If we are to capture any paranormal evidence down here, it will either have to be visual or through this static field detector. We set all of this equipment up, and to our surprise, as soon as we walked up the stairs and shut the door, the REM pod began to alarm.
For sure, be able to hear the lights, or see the lights.
Third abandonment.
That's right.
God, we did more abandonments than we did investigating back then.
Yeah. When in doubt, set a camera up with a laser grid.
That's right.
I saw that REM pod flash. Not only did it immediately begin to
I'm
alarm,
glad since then you've
but it
learned how to do
continued
like
to
a
alarm
highlighting
the entire time we
spotlight.
were gone.
Yes.
There's many things I'm glad that I learned how to do it after watching this. What the hell? How many REM pods do we have down there?
Just one, I think.
We cannot be 100% sure whether this piece of equipment is reliable or not, but it is very strange because it has. That's funny. We cannot be 100% sure whether this piece of equipment is reliable or not. Shown that it can be left set up without alarming at all. True. It continued to alarm until Steve finally walked over, picked it up, and then set it back down. And only then did it stop alarming. What does that tell you? It's probably being affected by something.
Couldn't possibly be the high EMF coming off of the furnace.
Yeah, right? Couldn't possibly.
Things we've learned since then, you
Think the
guys.
battery's dying?
If the REM pod won't stop going off, it's either the batteries or something's giving off high EMF interference. There's something down there that's messing with it.
But it just stopped right there. Shine your light on him, Dave.
One of our first thoughts was that maybe the batteries were dying, causing this REM pod to malfunction. Happens. So Steve tested it himself, and upon getting close to the antenna, it alarmed. That doesn't mean that it won't still work. As we've also discovered, a REM pod will still work even if the batteries are low, but it will tend to just go off randomly and at very high frequency.
Yes.
Just as normal.
Well, it's not going off anymore. Yeah?
I'm doing it's working fine now.
Yeah, it's working on you.
I mean, battery can't be too dead if I'm like, that's weird.
That's weird.
Something was literally right up on it for a while.
Like I stated before, we cannot be 100% sure that this REM pod is not malfunctioning.
Yeah, you guys.
But we also cannot be 100% sure that there is not some other energy or entity making this device alarm. Bum, bum, bum. T.B. Ripy was a man who made his fortune from the sale of bourbon. Through that fortune, he was able to live an extravagant lifestyle. But in the 1920s, selling liquor wasn't an easy task. When the city of Lawrenceburg turned to violence and looting, the Ripy family was forced to do whatever it took to survive. And this 50-room mansion is now a solid
What does that
testament
mean?
to their legacy. What does what mean?
They turned to do whatever they could to survive. I mean,
They made a speakeasy in the basement and sold illegal liquor.
whew.
I love that sign, though, the house that Bourbon built. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And this 50-room mansion is now a solid testament to their legacy. A legacy that lives on through the house and the spirits that still reside within it. Good shot. Well, everyone, there it is. That's the end of our investigation of the TB Ripy house back from 2015. We've learned a lot since then, and we can say that we are very glad that we have learned the things that we've learned since then, because watching this episode was very cringe. We've also learned not only about the paranormal and about filmmaking, but also, if you have the decision to buy a shirt with sleeves made of faux leather, always say no. The answer should always be no.
Say no to pleather, folks. Say no.
And if you happen to find yourself forced to wear a shirt with faux leather, with pleather, bling it out with a chain. It makes everything better.
That's right. Apparently.
So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of these, if you want to see us react to more of our content and to see our take on some of the older episodes, maybe even react to some of the newer episodes, which I imagine would probably not be as exciting as us reacting to these old ones, but if you want to see us react to more old Paranormal Quest content, leave us a comment down below and tell us exactly which episode of Paranormal Quest you'd like to see us cringe at. And make sure if you're new here, you subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. And if you are subscribed already, make sure your notifications are turned on so you never miss a video. We'll be back with new episodes of Paranormal Quest here in just a couple of weeks. We'll see you in the next episode, the next video.
Sorry.
On our Paranormal Quest.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hey, if you enjoyed that episode, maybe click on one of these other videos and watch some more. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, click on this button right down below. We want to thank all of our YouTube members and Patreon supporters for making all of this possible. And we'll see you next time